El Chapo, Pablo Escobar, Al Capone. These are some of the names that come to mind when most of us think of the most influential criminal kingpins in history. Someone very few of us think of is a Texas-based teenage physics student by the name of Ross Ulbricht. Though most saw him as a bright, kind-hearted young man, Ulbricht was the mastermind behind the website Silk Road, a massive, fully anonymous criminal marketplace. Illegal drugs, stolen credit cards, and even assassination jobs were all rumored to have been sold on the platform. So how did this man climb to the top of the FBI's most wanted list? You're watching Empire Visionaries. Chapter 1. Set Sail. Ulbricht grew up in Austin, Texas. His childhood years don't look like the kind you'd expect from an international crime kingpin. There was no growing up in the ghetto or hanging around criminal gangs. Instead, Ulbricht spent the majority of his time playing video games, hanging out with his friends, and going on vacation with his family to Costa Rica. Hardly the rough life of a hardened criminal. Ulbricht was known for his quick wits and incredible potential. He left high school with a 1460 score on his SATs, landing him in the 96th percentile of graduates in the country. His sharp mind was accompanied by a keen musical talent. Ulbricht's friends all knew him to be a caring, enthusiastic, and thoroughly gifted person. Ulbricht left home to study in Dallas, where he earned a bachelor's degree in physics. Shortly after, he went to Penn State to complete a master's in crystallography. While Ulbricht excelled in his studies, the magic of academia was slowly starting to wear off. He became disillusioned with the world of science and lost his passion for the subject he was studying. He made two crucial discoveries while at college, however. The first was when he met Julia Vies, a freshman year student and the love of his life. The second was when he started reading the works of Ludwig von Mises and delved into the world of libertarian politics. For those that don't know, libertarians advocate for an extreme form of freedom from the government. They believe the state has no right to tell its citizens what they can or can't do, and should only be there to protect them from threats to national security. As a result, Ulbricht began experimenting with psychedelic mushrooms and arguing the value of total bodily autonomy in his debate club. Why should the government have any say over what I put into my own body? Was his line of thinking. If we're going to ban drugs, should we also ban Big Macs? They cause heart attacks in millions of people all over the world. Ulbricht didn't feel at home in academia. He moved back to Austin and convinced his girlfriend Julia to join him. There, they rented a shabby apartment and began their life together, their young minds full of hopes and dreams. The dreams of youth rarely become a reality, however. Ulbricht had started day trading to earn a living, but had no luck. He turned to video game development and tried to set up his own dev studio. That project failed too. Ulbricht grew increasingly frustrated. He knew he had the potential to one day change the world, but he felt he was being held back. It was then that a seed was planted in his mind, one that would later grow into one of the most audacious criminal plans of all time. As a libertarian, Ulbricht hated the use of coercive force above all. He wanted to create a world where the government couldn't throw you in prison for living how you wanted to live. He floated the idea of an online marketplace where anonymous users from all across the planet could buy anything they wanted without leaving a single digital breadcrumb behind. No government would ever be able to trace them. Ulbricht remembered learning about the Silk Road, a series of trading routes that spanned from China to Europe in ancient times, where thousands of goods of all kinds exchanged hands daily. His chest brimming with excitement, Ulbricht took the first step down a dark path, one that would lead to his ultimate downfall. Chapter 2. On High Seas. In a blog post, Ulbricht once wrote, "I imagine that someday I may have a story written about my life, and it would be good to have a detailed account of it." Little did he know how accurate his prediction would turn out to be, though not for the reasons he once thought. Ulbricht wasn't stupid. He knew that if he set up an illegal anonymous marketplace on the internet, he'd be caught before he could even close the tab. He knew he'd have to set up Silk Road somewhere where the government couldn't trace him. If a regular website wasn't the right fit, where would he go? The internet is like an iceberg. What we see at the top, the surface web, is fully accessible. It includes sites like YouTube, Reddit, and Facebook. The vast majority of sites most people use every day. Beneath the surface, making up around 90% of the entire internet, is the deep web. The deep web includes all sites that can be accessed through Google search results. You have to type the domain name in directly. Finally, at the very bottom of the iceberg is the mysterious dark web. Accessing darknet sites is only possible by using third-party programs. The dark web was where Ulbricht found his home. He used the Onion Router, or Tor, an open-source software designed by the US Navy to keep its users anonymous when accessing the internet, to act as an invisibility cloak draped over Silk Road. But there was still a problem. How would users make secure payments if records could be found at any bank? Ulbricht made it so all transactions had to be made via Bitcoin. The revolutionary new form of electronic currency was entirely peer-to-peer, leaving only a name on the blockchain. As long as users didn't use their real identity when purchasing goods on Silk Road, the only breadcrumb left behind in the ledger would be a pseudonym. It was the perfect plan for total anonymity. Silk Road gained incredible popularity pretty much overnight. Users flocked to the site to purchase illegal drugs of all kinds. Ulbricht believed in the right to self-defense, so he initially allowed firearms to be sold on the platform, but changed his mind when he realized it would draw too much attention. Rumors circulated that it was even possible to buy stolen credit cards, illegal pornography, and even hire an assassin. Ulbricht's vision had become a reality. He took on the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts. Standing at the helm of his mighty $1 billion ship, Ulbricht felt invincible. But no king rules forever. Chapter 3. Going down with the ship. Word spread across the United States of a seedy criminal marketplace being hosted on the dark web. Politicians, including the Democrat-majority Senate leader Chuck Schumer, began calling for an investigation to find whoever was behind the illegal website. The chief worry at the time was that terrorists would enter the United States and use the anonymity offered by Silk Road to purchase weapons that could later be used to harm American citizens. Considering the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks had taken place only around a decade ago, the US government took the threat very seriously. The hunt to uncover the identity of the elusive Dread Pirate Roberts was on. Meanwhile, Ulbricht was facing problems in his personal life. He'd built an empire unlike anything the internet had ever seen and had become a Bitcoin millionaire. But his long-term girlfriend wasn't happy. Julia left him, saying that the stress of keeping such a dark secret to herself was too much of a burden to bear. His girlfriend's departure meant Ulbricht had nothing left in his life besides Silk Road. He communicated daily with his anonymous online staff and came into contact with a number of high-profile criminal individuals. One of them was a Dominican drug lord, Nob, who claimed to smuggle thousands of pounds of narcotics into the US every year. Or so Ulbricht thought. In reality, Nob was a DEA agent named Carl Force, tasked with finding the true identity of Dread Pirate Roberts. On top of this, Ulbricht's own staff had been compromised. His assistant, Cirrus, had been identified by a Department of Homeland Security agent, Jared Derjagen. He forced her to pass over all her details and posed as Cirrus in online chats with Ulbricht. To make matters worse, Ulbricht had hired Curtis Green, a 47-year-old based in Utah, to manage the day-to-day business of his website. A SWAT team broke down his door and seized all his possessions, including a laptop containing encrypted messages sent to Ulbricht. The walls were closing in. Fearing for his freedom, Ulbricht took drastic measures. He contacted Nob, the undercover DEA agent posing as a drug lord, to assassinate Green. Ulbricht agreed to pay him $80,000 in Bitcoin for the job. Nob sent fake photos of Green's bloody corpse to Ulbricht, staged with canned chicken soup. After this, Ulbricht planned to place 5 more hits on individuals he believed had been compromised. The authorities were hot on Ulbricht's tail, and soon they had a strong suspicion that Ross Ulbricht was their man. Still, they needed concrete proof, so they hatched a plan. The pressure was getting to Ulbricht, but there was one staff member he was confident he could always trust. He went to the San Francisco Public Library to clear his mind. The police followed. Inside, Ulbricht fired up his laptop and contacted Cirrus, who had been replaced by DHS agent Derjagen. His paranoia at its peak, He sent a few messages asking security questions that would confirm that only the real Cirrus would know. Luckily for the authorities, the real Cirrus was right beside Durjegin and fed him the appropriate answers. Ulbricht let out a sigh of relief upon seeing the security questions answered correctly and opened up an admin screen that would prove his role as the founder of Silk Road. The authorities signaled their operatives to move. At the table behind Ulbricht, a man and a woman got into a heated argument. The couple started screaming at each other at the top of their lungs. Ulbricht couldn't help but turn around and look at the source of the commotion. This was his mistake. It was all a trick. Within the blink of an eye, one FBI agent snatched his computer, while another grabbed his arms behind his back and wrapped a pair of handcuffs around his wrists. The jig was up. Ulbricht had been caught. When the identity of the dread pirate Roberts was revealed to the world, those who knew Ulbricht could hardly believe their ears. The once fun-loving, caring, brilliant boy had turned into a scheming, power-hungry kingpin right before their eyes. When Ulbricht stood before the court of justice, he begged that he be shown leniency. "Please leave me my old age," he wrote to the judge, asking for a lenient sentence so he could live out his final years as a free man. Ulbricht's plea fell on deaf ears. The judge sentenced him to life in prison. Silk Road was shut down, and the tale of the dread pirate Roberts came to an end. What do you make of Ross Ulbricht's story? Was he a champion of libertarian values, or a conniving criminal who deserved to be put behind bars forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to Empire Visionaries for more content like this in the future. Until next time.